All right, so let's get into the topic today that I know y'all want to hear about, which is standing out from the competition. And I want you all to know that it's going to take time to work up to this. Okay, so we're going to create a three-part strategy today together. The three things that I suggest that you start with to help you get your audience built so you don't have to do as much audience building later. You can just do more selling and more customer appreciation, customer recognition, things like that, right? So as I mentioned before, my name's Melissa Fryer, if we've never met before. If you're interested in finding more joy, less overwhelm, less stress while you're starting and growing your baking business, then we should hang out more. And I'm here in the group with you for that specific reason here in this private group. Now, the theme for March is cultivating the dream. So every time I come in here to talk to you on Thursdays, I'm going to be touching on something that kind of goes within that vague theme, just to help keep each month sort of situated so you know what we're going to be talking about. And I do think that one of the biggest issues bakers have when they're gearing up their marketing or even the idea of marketing is figuring out how to stand out, especially from those around you, but also just standing out anytime you're posting or anytime you're at an event. What are some things you can do to help with that? What you're looking for is an audience that is loyal and interested and there to support you day in and day out, right? That's what we're trying to build when we're talking about standing out. I don't like to use the word followers, right? That's, social media has had us use those terms. They're not really following you around, but what they are doing is noticing you and making sure that you are being given the attention for whatever it is you're doing for them. In our case, it's baking. So to help you get a foothold, we're going to work over that three-part strategy that I mentioned. And what's great about it is it's going to pinpoint unique traits that you already have. So this isn't necessarily something that you're going to have to spend a lot of time coming up with. I'm going to help you kind of dig through what's already going on with you and picking out three things to focus on to set yourself apart right now. If you want to be in the know about these lives, you can check the events here in the group. You can send me a friend request so I can invite you as I make the events. That's just the easiest way to do it if you feel comfortable with that. You can hang out on our email list for updates that come every couple weeks. I send out links to some of the featured videos, or you can follow us on YouTube as well, where I put many of the recordings. You can watch on YouTube instead of Facebook, however you want to do it. All right, let's hop right in. If you have any questions, let me know. Hi, Sandy. All right, number one. Your story is a powerful tool. Your story. So I'm talking about what has happened to you in your life, who you are, those inherent unique things that help you formulate how you work through your everyday life. And what's nice about it is because you're telling your story, you can figure out the level at which you're comfortable sharing. You don't have to share every little thing that's ever happened to you. Some people don't want to hear about that. Some people, it's more about how can you pick things out from your story that's going to help you connect with those around you. They don't necessarily all have to be completely positive things. Sometimes people want to connect with people they see as real humans, and that means you've made mistakes. Maybe you weren't good at something. Maybe you are part of like a niche group that some people don't agree with. Whatever it is, right? Everyone's got an opinion. So what I want you to do is maybe think about how would I make bullet points that I would use to describe myself to a new friend. So someone that you already kind of trust, right? You've gotten to know them a little bit and they just said, tell me three things about you. Write down a couple of those things. Like what are a few things that you would say? Add in quirky things. Add in interesting things that maybe not everyone is into or maybe not everyone has experience with. Really, the more different it is, the better, because again, we're trying to stand out. We're trying to get people to lock you into their brain as something they can remember. And if you're just like every other person they've ever met, it's going to be hard for them to do that. So you can use these aspects that you're writing down in your bullet point list to help you tell your stories about your business or your life as a baker, working the business, and even theming bakes or posts around that story, right? So you can kind of weave it into everything that you're doing. Remember that people tend to buy from you before just buying a thing. We're not big corporations. We are people running businesses. So yes, we want amazing baked products. That's number one. We want people to say, this is delicious. Thank you so much for making this. I cannot believe how good this is. First, we want them to be yummy. But we also want people to feel connected to us and the products because of that weaving that you've done with your story. They just want to be able to connect with you in a way that feels meaningful to them. So as an example, let's say that you like a certain sports team or you're an activist for some kind of movement. Can you make products that showcase these parts of your story? Or something that's going to encapsulate part of that story, that's naturally going to attract those who align with you because they see it, they connect with it. Yes, of course. So not only is it part of your story, it's also a big product. And so you're getting kind of 2 for 1 on that aspect. You'll notice that people start to interact with you, not just because you're selling them a cookie, but because they have those aspects in common, or it's part of their story too, or someone they know's story, or really they might just want to be closer to a person who already has those aspects. Maybe it's not something that they know how to do yet. Maybe it's something that they've been looking at, getting involved in, and they're coming closer to you because they see you involved in those areas. And remember, nobody can take your story from you. You're the only one who has it, and you can always be you, and no one can have that. So remember that the story is super important. That's why it's number 1. It's very powerful. It's very unique. You have control of how much you want to share, and you can weave it in as you see fit. So be yourself and be open to letting people see some of that, because again, we all want to connect with real people. We get scared to share things online, but I promise if you pick 1 or 2 and just give it a try, likely you'll get a good response from that. If you run more of a commercial operation, for those of you who have brick and mortar, who have a lot of employees, maybe you're more of a managerial position, less of the work in the bakery at this point, I still think that you can work your personality into parts of your business, like your logo, your tagline, events that you want to throw, the decor in your business, anything that's going on, maybe asking, the bakers to make something, like if you follow some sort of sports team, can you make something that goes along with that team playing XYZ team, right? Working it to still be reminiscent of something that you're interested in, because even if they don't know it's you, if you're kind of off in the background, you're still, you need to attract a certain group of people, right? It's hard to speak to the masses. You want to speak to niches so that more people come to you. Less people pay attention if you're talking to everybody, if that makes sense. So we just want to continue to let your light shine through your business in this way, if you can. Hi, Tiana. Hey, Anita. Good to see y'all. Good morning. All right, let's move on to number 2. This one is an interesting one. If you already have a small menu made, use a signature product cornerstone. And this is something that I've done here in this small community. It's worked out super well. It wasn't necessarily something I did in the first few years of my business. It was more of I make high-end cakes. That's what I do. So it was like a category, but it wasn't an actual single product. So I would suggest, if you have the ability to focus on a signature product cornerstone, that's the same thing, that's replicable, and it's great for brand recognition. It does not have to be everything that you're selling. It could literally just be one thing that you make, and you can do other stuff too. What we want to do is we want to pick 1 or 2 things that you already make that can become that centerpiece. So I don't want you to have to do a ton of work to figure out what it's going to be. If you don't already have a menu, of course, you're going to have to work up the menu and pick something for the cornerstone. But hopefully, if you have like 4 or 5 things that you already make, what I would suggest is picking one for that centerpiece of your business and try to really focus on that for at least the next year. I know it sounds like a really long time, but 5 to 6 months is really when you start seeing good results from marketing and selling the same type of product. So a year's time would give you a really good understanding of cornerstone product, how you can build on a cornerstone product, what are the different options you have. And I'm going to list off a few here just to get your mind rolling on what that might be. It would be smart to make sure that this item does the following, right? Can be sold to serve groups. So can it be scaled up to be individual serving or individual option to group option? Can it be stored for more than a day or 2? Unfortunately, we don't sell everything every day, sell out, right? Sometimes you have to hold on to something for a couple days. So can you figure out a way to seal it, store it, however it is, for at least 2 or 3 days, preferably longer? Because when you're making something so consistently, some weeks you sell out, some weeks you have some left over. So you don't want to have to throw away that product. Hopefully that would be the goal here. Can it be shipped? This isn't going to work for everybody, but just keep in mind, if it's shippable and you have the ability to ship, that's another avenue that you have for the Cornerstone product. Can it be made into a subscription service or something like corporate order style that you can fill every few days, every week, every day, even depending on how big your bakery is? Think about the scalability on that as well. You're definitely going to want to check that materials to create this Cornerstone item are somewhat stable in price. I know recently with the egg issue, we don't really know what's going to happen with our materials per se, but think about something. You don't try to avoid really volatile priced products in your main Cornerstone. You're likely going to have to use dairy, which is kind of volatile, but just keep that in mind as you're thinking about it. And also those materials being readily available to you. Do those materials often sell out? Do you have trouble finding XYZ for that recipe? If that's already happening to you now, and you try to scale up, that's going to get even worse. So you just want to make sure that materials are available for it and that hopefully they're stable enough in price that you could have it on the menu for a year, likely at the same price or around the same price, and continue with that stable Cornerstone product. And then lastly, depending on your storage, your cooled storage, your room temp storage, can you store a large amount of this item at one time? You have somewhere to put it. If you don't, you need to consider maybe getting a shelf or something set up so that if you needed, or an extra fridge, if you needed to store, if you're going to make it every week or every day, where can I store it as it's being made, waiting for sale? All right, just some tips on scaling a Cornerstone product. The reason we're talking about this is because you want to be known for it. We're talking about standing out. Well, then if you're known for a thing and other people aren't, you're starting to stand out. People are starting to notice that's the girl that makes the cookie dippers. That's the guy that makes the sourdough loaves. That's the team that makes the macaron packs, right? Like there are things happening and people, you want to become that person and you want to be recommended the moment someone asks about the thing, even if you do other stuff, right? This is the thing that people are going to say, you should look into that product. We know that that person makes it, but you have to make a lot of it and you have to promote it often for people to know that it exists. Okay. And I want to mention here, you do not have to do this, but it is kind of common, not necessarily that you have to, but it is common that this known for product is sometimes part of a loss leader concept, like the Costco chicken. So Costco loses money on those chickens, but they keep it in place because it makes their customers happy and people come for the chicken and then they buy other stuff, right? So they're making their profits on the other items, not the chickens, but the chicken is what gets you in the store. So you could consider your cornerstone item being part of a loss leader concept. You could plan to upsell or lead customers to buy your profitable items at the same time as they purchase that cornerstone or soon after purchase. Make sure there's a plan to do that if you are going to use the loss leader concept, because you don't want them to stop at that, right? You need them to purchase something else. So just something to think about. Hi, Lucy. Okay, move on to number 3. Keep it consistent with the quarter rule. Consistency can be hard. I understand there's lots of people that say, I forget to post or I forget to email. It's just not something I have on my brain. Set reminders, set your phone alarms, set a reminder on your computer that pops up. Whatever you need to do, I get it, we're super busy, but consistency is how you stand out. Because if you're quiet most of the time and then you say something, people are like, who is this? Right? They need to be told multiple times. We'll even talk about some tips at the end here to give you a visual of what I mean by that. So keeping consistent with the quarter rule, I suggest only offering a sale option a quarter of the time that you interact. So if you're going to make 3 posts today in an email, maybe pick one of those posts or the email to have a sale option. So maybe 2 posts or something funny. The 3rd post is a sale and the email is a menu for next month showing them what's going on, right? So you're not actively trying to sell anything. When you are using this process, what you're doing is you're using most of your time to connect with your audience, similar to 1, right? Sharing your story, educating them, sharing background tips, showing them what you've been up to, but not selling, just showing them what's going on and using your natural tone and your natural style to be a real person. And then on the fourth one, you say, hey, this is also for sale if you're interested, right? And that's going to help people soften to see your information because they're not always being sold to, which people don't necessarily love. They want that connection piece. So you're going to use your strengths. Are you funny? Are you cute? Are you good at finding memes to share? You know, what is it, right? Do you like to post relevant information? What's going on around you? Do you like to share about special techniques that you're working on? You kind of a tinkerer. Do you like to collect interesting facts and throw facts up for people to see? Whatever it is, what type of content do you feel okay, right? Something that makes you feel okay collecting it or making it. Doesn't have to be, could be super light, could be super simple. Pick something that you're okay trying consistently and start using that as a vehicle to give you ideas about what to share. Now, one thing that you'll start to notice if you do this consistently is that most people with baking businesses around you are likely selling with every post. Some of them already have audiences and that works okay. They don't really need to connect with you. They already know who you are. They're just interested in, hey, I already know her. Oh, she's got cookies. Okay, cool. Right? The connection is still important, but it's not as important if you already have a strong audience. So this is for people who are building their audience and they need that connection first. And what you'll notice is if you see bakers posting and they're not connecting, usually there's crickets, right? There's not a lot of interaction. Who knows, they might be making sales in the back end that we don't see, but the post itself, especially on social, isn't getting a lot of feedback. Sometimes it can come off a little cold, and often the low interaction is just evidence that the information in the post isn't exciting enough or isn't something that people want to share about, which happens to all of us. So if that's happening to you, it's okay. I'm just letting you know that try the quarter rule of 1 to 4, use those connection options and then a sale option and see if that starts building up the interaction on that sale option. Because as I mentioned before, people don't always like to be sold to by strangers. If you feel like a stranger to them, it's gonna be how it looks, right? So consider posting in your voice like you talk, even if it's a little crude, even if it's a little silly, try to post in that voice like you're talking to a friend, right? You want to keep it light. People don't go to social media for everyone to be, cut dry, super professional. They're kind of looking for something a little loose. And there you can share a little bit more of the personal side of baking, how your business is going, what's going on with it, rather than selling. You're just showing them what is happening with it. You could say something like, hey, I just got these cookie cutters. Aren't they cute? Hold them up, take a photo of them on the table, see how people react to that. Or, I've been thinking about cinnamon raisin bread recently. Do you think that sounds yummy too? Asking questions just like you would talk to a friend. You're going to create engaging posts that people can chat with you on the post, or even just about the subject in general, get to know you a little more, make those connections. The trick to this is to keep it consistent and light. It doesn't have to be world-shattering information. Consistency, a little sprinkle of sharing sparkle, right? Nice and easy. You can use your local foodies group or your local connection groups if you have those on Facebook, or if there's places on Instagram where people post for information like this using certain hashtags. You can have those discussions there, as well as your business page. If you have people interacting with your page or you feel like that's a fun place to post very consistently, which I suggest you do, or even some on your personal page if they are really not businessy, you're not trying to sell anything. Your Facebook page is more so for connection. So definitely connection over there. Even if it is business related, you're not necessarily saying, hey, come buy all this stuff, right? Okay. Hey, Allie, good to see you. All right, so notice that these posts, you're going to notice that these posts will start to generate interest and eyeballs on you, even if it's really not completely related to what it is you're trying to sell in your fourth post. You're going to get eyeballs on the connection posts. And then via the algorithm, when you do post that fourth post that has information or email, the algorithm won't affect the email, but later on, the algorithm will say, hey, we saw that you liked or watched or interacted with posts earlier. This person has another post, and then they might see it. And now you're getting more eyeballs on your sales posts. It's kind of like just gearing up for that moment where you're going to show them what's going on. And just remembering that each post builds your presence. So every post is good posts, right? Like get going with it. You don't have to avoid it. And people tend to need a little bit of a warm up, right? Like just a little chuckle or something that they, oh, you know, you've shown the process of the cookies, 3 different posts showing background of the cookies. You haven't tried to sell anything yet. You've just shown them, hey, I just baked these cookies. Look at that edge. Hey, I just flowed these cookies. Look how shiny they are. Hey, I just added the little flowers to the cookies. Aren't they cute? And then the 4th post is, hey, I ended up with some extra cookies. Do you want them? Right? So that's kind of the build up too. And that's good for anyone, especially those who are starting to build a following so they can watch you work and start to trust you on that level. Alrighty. Now I want to throw you a couple bonus social tips because I mentioned it on one of the mentorship calls I had recently. She didn't know these. And again, they're averages and things can change over time, but these are pretty consistent averages for social media use that I want to lay out for you to help you feel better about posting a lot or very simple light posts, but posting more regularly. So 1, the average percentage of posts a follower will see, a follower, so someone who has said, hey, I want to watch their stuff. Normally it's around 10%. Why? Because they're not on the internet at the time you're posting, other stuff's filling their newsfeed. You've posted and you've like taken the spot away, whatever it is. So the average percentage is 10%, even for someone who said they want your information. That means you could post 10 times and a follower would only see 1. Okay, so keep that in mind. 2, it takes 7 positive interactions with a brand before people normally feel comfortable to buy for the first time. 7 times, 7 positive interactions that they are silent. They probably haven't even interacted with you at all. They need those 7 silent interactions or 7 slightly silent interactions before that purchase happens. So as you're posting, understand that if you're not seeing a ton of response, people are likely still seeing it and or waiting for more options to see so that they can now become a buyer, right? So just, it's kind of a rat race game, okay? That might be a little overwhelming to hear, but just letting you know that consistency is one of the main keys to being visible when you keep the above 2 tips in mind. So staying consistent, keep it light, keep it fun. Try to make it work for you so you don't hate talking about your business, right? So you don't loathe having to talk about it. Make it so it's you. Make it so that it feels good and just keep on posting. To recap, tell your story and relate products to that story. 2, use a signature product cornerstone. 3, keep it consistent with the quarter rule. You can do this. I know you can. You can stay consistent. You can keep it light. You can stay on brand. You can enjoy sharing about your business by choosing an avenue that makes you feel good when you're doing it. And people love to see our baked products. So don't feel like you're ever taking up too much space on the internet because people absolutely love to see what bakers do. They're obsessed with it. There's TV shows made about it. They freaking love it. Okay, so don't feel bad about posting it. People like to see this stuff. If you want some extra mentorship, we can definitely get on the phone, get on Zoom, help you figure out where you're at right now. You can DM me for more info. There's complimentary 20-minute calls, one for everyone in the group. If you want to claim that, I can send you the link. I also have longer form calls if you want to dive into a big topic and get a plan set up. We have group mentorship, we have courses, we have resource pages, we have blog posts, lots of information ready for you. You have to tell me what you need so I can give you the link to get there and you can get started. Okay, because we're going to help you build that better bakery one step at a time in a way that feels good for you. Okay, I am off today to do a little freeze drying. People are hounding me for chamoy Skittles, so I'm going to go do those. And then I'm going to get some spring break relaxation in because it's our spring break this week. So I'm going to go do that. And I will see you guys next week. Okay. Be safe out there. I'll see you soon. DM me if you have questions, post in the group for input. We are here to help you. And we will talk about something else next week related to cultivating the dream. Okay. Bye.